So I'm Fysh, and as Melvin has just introduced me, I will be talking about the people side of things, and people are very important in us bringing back nature in some form or other to the county of Lincolnshire. We've heard from Richard earlier about nature and an iconic species in Lincolnshire, but we also have lots of very common species. And they are suffering as well. And one of the things that we really need to do over the next decades is to actually bring back some of that those common species as well, because they very often form the basis of the food web for some of the more iconic species. So what this project, Nextdoor Nature, is about is to try and, sorry, I'm just trying to change my slide and it's not going. There we go. What Nextdoor Nature is about trying to help and work with communities to empower them to take action for nature where they are. We need to help them find out what they want to do, where they want to do it, and help them to achieve that. Now, Nextdoor Nature is a project that has been put together by the Wildlife Trust, which is the central body for all the 46 trusts across the country. And so they got funding in, £5 million of funding from the Heritage Lottery, and provided each of the wildlife trusts across the country with a sum of money to help to ensure that there were staff available to help communities to develop nature in their areas. So what is Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust doing with regard to Nextdoor Nature? We decided in the first 2 years of the project to target 4 areas. And these areas that we chose are areas that are significantly disconnected from nature. What does that mean? It means there is very little access to nature in those communities. There might be the occasional park in a community, or if you're in somewhere like South Holland, where we've seen some fantastic photos of Willow Tree Fen, there is not that much access for nature and for people to access that nature, not much, many places where people can go, other than along some of the dike banks and also other areas, including churchyards. So one of the shocking statistics that we discovered when we were pulling the information together for this project was that South Holland has the second least access to nature in England. This is a most amazing statistic, and one that we wanted to help the community of that area. So some of the other areas, we are working with communities in Skegness, Mablethorpe. We're also working with other communities in Gainsborough and Grimsby and Cleethorpes. So what do we actually do to inspire people and connect them to nature in their community? So some of the things that we've been doing over the past 18 months is we've been doing something called listening exercises, and we've been going along to events in particular communities in Grimsby and Cleethorpes, in Gainsborough, down in Boston and in South Holland. And we've been working with people, actually asking them, what is your favourite wildlife in this park or this area that we are at? And what do you want to do to encourage more wildlife? Now, in some instances, those spaces are managed by councils, and we've been able to provide some information to councils. But then also, in some places, people are actually wanting to take on spaces for themselves. And those spaces might be, particularly one example that comes to mind is in South Holland, near Spalding. In fact, not about a mile away from Willow Tree Fen, and a community there were given an old playing field that the parish council had been managing, and the people there wanted to turn that into a space for nature and people to experience it together. So we went down to that community and we worked with them to think about ideas for that site. And so what did we do? We created a game called Nature Space in a Box, which helps the community to actually plan their own site. It's a bit like, I should imagine a lot of you will remember fuzzy felt when you were kids, something that you could move around the little pieces and you would put them where you wanted. Well, we created some bits and pieces like little trees, little bushes, etc. We got some plastic tablecloths and we drew on there the shape of the plot of land that people had. And we gave them little wooden hedgehogs and ducks and bushes and flowers and butterflies. And then they were able to assign meanings to those that meant something. So, for example, owls, if they wanted owl boxes, they could actually design their site with hedges and dead hedges, fences, whatever they wanted. And so by doing that with Tongue End Community and a number of other communities, the community themselves are actually designing their own space for wildlife. At the end of the community event, one or two people took away those designs and pulled them into one design, which all of the community are sharing in. And in Tongue End, they've actually now got a really good community group together of 16 to 20 people who regularly turn up to actually manage the site. We also have been starting to develop some networking events. Now, the biggest event of our programme last year was the Wilder Lincolnshire Festival, which celebrated both 75 years of Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust, but also we invited a large number of the community groups that we work with. When we've been going around to different community groups across the whole county, a lot of them have several questions that they're asking us, all the same questions. One is, we want to do something for nature, but we don't know how. We want to know what other people have done for nature, and we'd like to meet up with them. And also, can you train us in what we can do? We don't actually know what to do when we get onto our sites. So the Wilder Lincolnshire Festival, we invited lots of community groups from all over the county. They came together and there was so much interaction between those groups that we're thinking of putting on another networking event in September this year. The other thing we've done is we've also invited lots of community groups and charities, the smaller ones that are working on developing nature and people's access to nature. We brought them together into a forum and we're talking about how to work together as well. So which communities are we already working with? So I was talking about those 4 key areas in the last 18 months. So in Grimsby and Cleethorpes, we've been working with an amazing charity called East Marsh United. They have put together a Greening the Marsh 100-year plan. So they are thinking big. We don't often get many communities that think in that scale of time, but it's wonderful that they are in Grimsby thinking about that. And that includes street tree planting schemes as well as a community growing space. Now, they have managed to get extra funding for their community growing space, and they've been able to employ an officer through the WEA, and so we have been able to then step back so we can then use our resource to go and help other communities. And 2 of the other communities that have come forward recently are Flourish in Grimsby, which is a group with young adults with additional needs, and they are developing their own site and an allotment, so we're supporting them there. We're going to be helping them learn about identifying species, common species. And then also very recently, an organisation at Humberston Fitties in Cleethorpes, they have come to us. They are a new community group and they are wanting to develop activities in the Fitties that will support wildlife. And they have got access to some spaces, some wildlife spaces there, which they want to make sure are retained for wildlife. So we're also working in Mablethorpe, a very interesting project with Morisco Health Centre, which is a unique project that we think to create a prescription garden for wildlife as well as fruit and veg, which will benefit the whole community. It will be in the grounds of the health centre, and the doctors there at the surgery want to be able to prescribe activity and gardening and watching nature in that garden to their patients, alongside any other types of medical support that they need. So this is quite innovative, and there we are talking to them about potentially actually creating like a prescription pad for nature, which the doctors may use instead of a prescription for drugs or something. They might actually use that and provide that to their patient to say, actually, I would like you to go and be responsible and look after this plant in the garden. Go and see how many butterflies you can see, and just a very different way of prescribing nature. I've talked a little bit about South Holland, and their community championed a green space to benefit the whole village. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a moment. In Boston, we've been working with a whole range of communities, building on the Naturehoods project that the Trust had developed from about 2019 onwards. And there are a whole range of groups there that we support. In particular, one organisation called where again for adults with brain injuries and things, we're going to be working a lot with them in this coming year. In Gainsborough, there are some really exciting things going on in Gainsborough. They've just been awarded, community group, they've been awarded some funding to improve some of Thorndike Way, which is a very urban dual carriageway, massive roundabout, but they are wanting to make sure that wildlife has a home there in the centre of that town. And then also some exciting plans for a new community country park in a large site of about 100 or so acres in the middle of the town. So watch this space for what's going on there. It's very exciting. And then Tongue End, I talked a little bit about their community planning event with Nature Space in a Box. And one of the things they did, they actually then took all of the, you can see on there, all of the, they are working on their plan there, bringing all the ideas together, and they produced it into a plan on the computer. And just the fact they'd got that master plan enabled them to get £8,000 of money straight away to support them in putting in fencing. They had a fencing company came to them and said they wanted to help them put the fencing in, all of this sort of thing. So actually being able to have a physical plan with all your ideas on, which may be a 10-year plan, it really helps with communities getting funding. They were filmed last spring, and the programme went out on Countryfile in April last year, and we had Ellie Harrison and Hamza Yassin. They both came and worked with a group of children and the community to start the developing of that site. It was an amazing experience for everybody that was involved. So what are we doing in 2024? So we are moving across to things called Nature Discovery Days. So we've done a lot of the planning with communities. We're now moving into helping communities and families and individuals to learn basic identification skills about a whole range of different wildlife, as well as teaching people how to survey and record on their sites. I'm always asking this. If you have got any skills that you would like to share with us, then please do get in touch. We can, we need all the support we can get at these activities. We're also developing a range of workshops and training days, particularly this year based at Wisby Education Centre near Lincoln at Wisby Nature Park. And those are all sorts of activities to help people learn how to develop their own sites, to manage their sites, and then what they can actually do with some of the material they find on their sites. Our first series of workshops is this weekend, and we're doing hazel coppicing, and then with the pieces that we cut off the hazel, we're actually going to be making some trellises for people to take away for their gardens. So keep your eye on the website. As I said earlier, we're looking at an annual networking event based around the Lincolnshire Environmental Awards. Again, keep your eye on the website for those. Beyond next year, the project officially finishes, but we are, as a trust, are going to be rolling it out to the rest of the county. It's really important that we work with other partnerships to help more communities, and we're also developing and rolling out a Nextdoor Nature Champions training programme to help volunteers to actually help other communities in their areas. So we feel that we can only help people to help wildlife in their communities by actually getting into those communities and working with people across the board. We have had such amazing, we have so many people coming to us. Every community now knows that we have to help and support common wildlife across the county. So thank you for listening. That was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I think please do help us, do get in touch. We are there now to support community people in their own communities.